Welcome back. In this video, we're going to introduce the concept of synthetic division. Synthetic division is essentially a shortcut to polynomial long division. However, synthetic division comes with certain conditions that have to be met in order to be used. So synthetic division is only used in very, very specific circumstances. And on tests and quizzes, I will let you know when I want you to use synthetic division and when I want you to use polynomial long division. And every once in a while, I might give you the option. But the conditions in which synthetic division are applicable are when the divisor is a first-degree binomial. So we have to be dividing by like x plus 1 or x minus 3. Okay? And the coefficient, at least for our purposes, the coefficient on the variable is going to be 1. So we're not going to have, we're not going to be using a divisor of like 2x or anything like that. So the divisor is just going to be x and then first degree, x to the first power. As I mentioned, this is a substitute for polynomial long division. And when we get started here, we'll see our divisor is going to be the opposite of the constant. Okay, so we're not really going to be dividing by x plus 1, we're going to be dividing by negative 1, or we're going to be dividing by a positive 3. Okay, and interestingly enough, we are only going to use the coefficients of the dividend. So this is a very different process, so pay attention to how we set this up. Once you do a few of them, you'll really get the hang of it, and frankly, it will go pretty quickly. So first, the setup. We're going to set this up. We're dividing by x plus 1. X plus 1 is our divisor. It's first degree. The coefficient on x is 1, so this meets the requirements. So the divisor we're going to set aside and put in a little box like this. So we're going to divide by negative 1. So we're going to use this negative 1. And then in the same row here where the divisor is, and we're going to have 3 rows here in just a minute, but we're going to use the coefficients of each of our terms in the dividend. So the coefficients are 1, negative 16, and our constant negative 17. And I call this first row, I call this the coefficient row. Then we're going to have another row here that we're going to leave blank. Okay, so we've got some space here. In this row here, I call this the product row. Okay, so this row is the product row. Well, product implies multiplication. So we're going to be doing some multiplication, and it's going to go in this row. And then the final row here is going to be what I call the sum row. Okay, and this is going to be our final row. And this is where our answers are going to be. Okay, the sum row is going to contain the coefficients of our answers, or our answer. And it's pretty amazing how this works, but it does. One thing to keep in mind, now we're dividing x squared minus 16x minus 17 by the quantity x plus 1. So hopefully we know that x squared divided by x, our solution is going to have x to the first power. That's going to be the highest degree in our solution. So that's something to keep in mind, something to notice there. Okay. But getting back to the process of synthetic division, we've got our divisor and our coefficients here. And how we're going to start this process is we're going to take the leading coefficient and we're just going to bring that all the way down and put that in our sum row. Okay, so we'll bring down 1. And then what we will do is we're going to take our divisor and we're going to multiply by 1. So we're going to multiply -1 times 1. Well, that's a product, -1 times 1, and that result is -1. And then our -16 and -1, we're just going to add these. Okay, so all we're going to do is add these, and we get -17. And then we're going to repeat the process. So -1 times -17 is a +17. So we're going to put that in our product row under our next coefficient. And -17 plus 17 is 0. And since we're out of coefficients, we are finished. So our answers are down here. And our answers will always be, this last number we get will always be our remainder. And the one immediately to the left of that will be our constant. And the one immediately to the left of that would be our x to the first power. And if we had another one here, that would be x to the second. And if we had another one here, that would be x to the third. But we don't have anything there. So our final answer then is 1x, or x minus 17. So x squared minus 16x minus 17 divided by x plus 1 is x. The coefficient is 1, and our constant is 17, and there's no remainder. So our final answer, x minus 17. Let's do another one. This one will be a little bit better example, but let's go ahead and begin. We're dividing x cubed plus 27 by x minus 3. So hopefully we know here x cubed divided by x cubed divided by x to the first is going to be x squared. So we know our largest term is going to be x squared, right? Didn't we know our largest term in number 1 was going to be x to the first? And it was. So now we know our largest term is going to be x to the second. So let's go ahead, though, and put our divisor in. Our divisor is +3, okay? It's the opposite sign. And then let's go ahead and fill in our coefficient row. Now this one's a little bit different because we don't have an x squared and an x to the first term. We have 0 there. So we're going to need to put placeholders in our coefficient row. So our coefficients, x cubed, the coefficient x cubed is 1, and then x squared is 0, and x is 0, and then our constant of 27. We'll leave a little space for our product row. So when we multiply, right, we're going to put our products in here. And then finally we'll have our sum row, which will contain the coefficients of our answers. So once again, we bring down the leading coefficient. In this case, it's 1 again. It won't always be 1, but in this case, it's 1. And now we begin to multiply. So we're going to multiply 3 times 1, and we get 3. That goes in our product row. Then we add down. 0 plus 3 is 3. And we will multiply again. 3 times 3 is 9. And we will add down, because this is a sum row. So we're going to add and get a sum. And that is 9. And 3 times 9 is 27. We will add down. Be careful here. 27 plus 27 is 54. So we should know 2 different things. We know that this is our remainder. Our remainder is 54. But don't we also know that the largest degree of our answer has to be x squared? So we should know that that is our x squared, that's our x to the first, that's our constant, and this is our remainder. So our answer is 1x squared, or just x squared, plus 3x plus 9, and then our remainder is a positive 54. But just like in long division from grade school and from polynomial long division, our remainder is 54 over, or divided by, our divisor, x minus 3. So here is our final answer. X squared plus 3x plus 9 plus 54 over x minus 3. All our coefficients are listed there in the sum row, our constant, and our remainder. So we'll do some more of this in class, but there's a nice introduction to synthetic division, and we will see you in class.